welcome back to another video from HSTV, and in today's video, kind of related to last week's video actually, we're going to be talking specifically about MMI interviews. So that's basically multiple mini interviews, and we're going to relate them to specifically medicine as well. So if you guys are new to the channel, hello, this is HSTV. I'm a first year medical student at the University of Edinburgh, and I did experience quite a few MMI interviews when I was applying to medicine. So I thought that I'd put out some of my quick tips and tricks and tell them to you guys so that you can prepare as best you can and smash your MMI interview. Please do remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and please do share it around if you find it useful, because I know it's like peak interview season just now and a lot of you are going to be quite stressed out and maybe a bit panicked, so I hope that I can help you a little bit and get you guys through this. So without further ado, let's get on to the video. So the MMI interviews that I did were the ones at Dundee University and Aberdeen University, and to be honest, my experience overall was they were really friendly and it just went by really quickly. So, you know, although 2.5 hours or 3 hours seems like a lot of time, when you actually split that up into the different stations, it's actually very, very quick. And for example, at Dundee, it's 10 7-minute stations. So you can imagine 7 minutes goes by really quickly, especially when you're in that kind of pressure environment, I guess. So please don't worry about it being too long. You do kind of feel a bit exhausted afterwards, but I guess blame that on the adrenaline. But yeah, overall my experiences were quite positive, and I think MMI interviews are a great way to test applicants' communication skills and really who they are as a person. Sometimes with panel interviews it can feel a little bit pressured, more than the MMIs, where it's just the same assessors and you just kind of feel if you make a mistake, then it's just going to lead on to more mistakes, and then you can quite easily mess up a panel interview. But with the MMIs, if you mess up a station, you can literally go on to the next station and it's a fresh start. You can give it your all again and you restart, and you'll be marked regardless of what you did at the other station. So I guess that is the advantage of an MMI interview. So I guess talking about in terms of what universities are looking for in when you do an MMI, basically they want to see your communication skills and they want to see who you are as a person. So that can be through quite a variety of situations actually. So one situation could be a role play station. Now literally, how do you prepare for a role play station? So, you know, it could be that you're told to be a doctor and you have to tell the actor, could be actors by the way, you have to tell an actor some bad news, for example, that their relatives passed away or something of that sort, because they want to see your communication skills, they want to see your empathy, your sympathy, and how do you compassionately get across that information to this actor. And you know, that might seem a little bit like too much because you're not even a doctor yet, like how are you supposed to? But remember, all that volunteering that you've done, the work experience that you've done it for this, and you've not done that voluntary and work experience so you can go and list it that I watched a cardiac transplant. Like you're not gonna say that. It's what did you learn from that? So really you're extracting the skills that you've learnt from your application process and putting them into this one interview day, essentially. So that's kind of the role play station. What I would say is that in your house, if you live with your parents or if you've got any siblings, search up some scenarios. So like bad news is quite an important one, I guess. That empathy and sympathy skills can come out quite nicely there. But just kind of search up some scenarios and just practice them on your siblings. And I know like it's going to be really funny when you do it, but genuinely it does help with the communication that you need. But genuinely guys, honestly, if you've been like volunteering in care homes, for example, especially with patients who might have dementia, your communication skills naturally will develop really nicely and it will come out in your interviews regardless of whether you've done that practice or not. But yeah, role play stations are pretty much a must in MMIs, so practice that. So I guess the other types of stations that you could have are stations on work experience, voluntary, and personal statements. So make sure that you know your personal statement off by heart. You should be able to recall / prove, I guess, everything that you write in your personal statement. So they will know if you've lied about something. So please don't lie in your personal statements. But yeah, know your personal statements, and with your work experience and voluntary stuff, make sure that you reflect on it. And it's not just a list, it's kind of what you learn from that, and make sure you get that across to your interviewer. So I guess another type of station that could come up is like a problem-based learning kind of one, or a data interpretation kind of one. So these kind of stations, it's really important to say what you're thinking, because they want to see your thought process. They want to see that you're not just jumping to conclusions, but you are actually able to take someone through your thought process. And it doesn't even matter if you get the right answer or not, if it's a right or wrong answer kind of calculation, for example. But if you're unsure of something, make sure you ask, because remember, if you don't ask, they will know if you're just rambling on for no reason. So make sure that you do ask if you're unsure, because remember, it's important to ask for help, and that in itself is a skill that they might be assessing on that station. So make sure if you are unsure that you ask, and just take them through your thought process. And I guess it won't be anything that's like extremely difficult, or it won't be anything that you've like, it might be a diagram that you might not have encountered before, but it won't be something super unfamiliar. So I guess it's kind of difficult to say how you can prepare for it, but maybe even just like get your sibling or someone or your friend to search up like a diagram, and then you have to like explain the process of that diagram, and just take someone through your thought process. So I guess that's the only kind of preparation you can do for that, but important thing, please do remember to ask questions if you're unsure. So another thing that you will very quickly realize with MMIs compared to panel interviews, that they will put you in scenarios that are really difficult to prepare for. So another type of station that could come up is you having to give instructions to someone. Now, this might seem like really simple, but genuinely like lefts and rights. Don't get your lefts and rights mixed up. And what I mean by that is, like, for me, this is my right and this is my left, but for you, this is your left and this is your right. So having to communicate something to someone in that way can be a little bit tricky, and it's important to take your time calmly and just think about what you're saying, because you might have to tell someone to organize shapes, you might have to tell someone to build something, or you might have to tell someone to walk to a certain thing. So it's kind of giving instructions to someone is a really important skill. And even as a doctor, you will have to explain procedures, you will have to explain what you're doing at loads of different stages. So make sure, I guess this is kind of linked to your problem-based learning as well, to say what you're thinking as well, so that the examiners know what's going through your head and why you're saying certain directions, for example. So yeah, make sure that you know your left, right, ups, downs, all that kind of stuff, your orientation wise, you know how to direct someone, and that can be quite easily practiced with a sibling or a friend again, where you just have to direct them to do something. Maybe put a blindfold on someone and direct them somewhere, because I would really say that know your lefts and rights. That is quite key in whatever situation comes up. So another station likely to come up is about professional judgment or ethics, and I guess that's something again that you can go over, but make sure you know kind of the basic laws around the NHS and doctors. And I would also really recommend that you read the GMC guidelines for being a good doctor, and professionalism again, just things like that about what to do if you see someone doing something wrong, or kind of similar to your situational judgment in your UCAT exam. So kind of don't forget that kind of stuff, because that is actually quite important, and you can use it in your MMIs as well. So they might give you a scenario, and you have to say what kind of judgments you would make for that scenario. And it's really important to listen to the question, because sometimes they will prompt you towards a certain direction that they maybe want to that they maybe want you to talk about. So listen very carefully, and then nice and slowly and calmly take them through your thought process. And with a lot of these ethical kind of questions, there's not really a right or wrong answer, but it's really about your reasoning behind your judgment. So make sure that you get across to the examiner what your thinking is and why you would do a certain thing. Okay, so just lastly, to round up the video, I guess this video is called How to Prepare for an MMI, but genuinely don't be too tempted to just learn answers off by heart, because it is actually better for you to take the scenario as it comes and respond to it with your initial kind of gut feeling, if you know what I mean. So yeah, you can obviously prepare for questions around work experience and voluntary, but sometimes it is quite difficult to prepare for scenario-based questions. But I would say, just in ending this video, that revise maybe like the four pillars of medicine, look at confidentiality laws, just kind of revise your situational judgment, I guess, as well. But it's really difficult to specifically learn answers for questions as you maybe can in panel interviews. And yeah, just kind of practice saying things out loud, speak confidently, and if you're unsure about something, please do ask the interviewer, because genuinely they don't mind, they want you to do well. And yeah, I wish you guys the best of luck. Obviously this is 2020, I think some of the MMIs might be online this year, so let me know how that goes, because obviously with us it was in person, so it's interesting to see what would happen. And also with COVID going on, maybe some questions about COVID will come up, so you know, keep up with the current topics as well. And yeah, best of luck to everyone applying to medicine this year. If you have any questions, any doubts, anything you're unsure of, leave it in the comments or follow the Instagram, which is at HSTV Official, and I will get back to you on that as well. So that's going to end the video, guys. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.